Okay, so here we are back with part number 2, and I was in the middle of doing a department order custom sort before time ran out there, but now the maximum time on my recording is not set, so I'll highlight the list again, highlight everything down to the end, and I'll go back into sort. I'll choose department, and I'll choose custom list, and I'll start typing in what we want. So the first thing that we want to show up on the list is marketing. Put in a comma and a space, and then human resources. Oh, spelled it wrong. Human resources, and then management, and then engineering. I have to put in capital letter for that, engineering, and we're done. So just click add, and that shows up in my list now. So I got marketing, human resources, management, and engineering as the custom sort. You see that I have others going on over here. I got, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've got January, I got the months, I've got west, east, north, I've got Boston, Chicago, LA, Pittsburgh. I used this one actually when I was doing my hockey poll. Of course, it didn't help me. I'm still losing in the hockey poll. But what this shows you is that you can do any kind of sort you want based on whatever words that you want to use, whatever makes sense in your data. So whether you're sorting by region or by hockey team or by department or by month, you just have to tell Excel what it is what order it is you want to sort in. So we just say OK there, and we see we have marketing, human resources, management, and engineering. And that's the order it's going to sort in. So I just click OK, and there it is. So all the marketing people show up first, and then human resources, and then management, and finally engineering. And that's the bottom of our list. So for those times where you want to do a custom sort, like I say, whether it's by region, north, south, east, west, or hockey team, or whatever, you can do that as well. Okay, so let's go back to our assignment. And we'll see that the third thing that we want to do is a filter. So this is not a sort. A sort actually rearranges the data and moves it onto a different row. What a filter does is keeps your data, but it hides the rows that it doesn't want to see, and it shows you the rows that you do want to see. So that's the difference between a sort and a filter. So for number 3, we're actually doing a filter. And we want to filter only those employees in the engineering department with a clearance of top secret. Okay, so let's go back to our spreadsheet, and we'll go to engineering TS, and we'll see that there's nothing there. So we do have to go back, get the data. So we're going to copy this data again. We're going to put it over here, back into A1, and we're going to click paste. And we got a fresh copy of the data, so it doesn't matter what we do to it, we're not going to change anything we've already done. So how does filter work? Well, filter works pretty easy. You just highlight your column names, and you go up to data, filter. As soon as you click on filter, it puts a little drop down arrow beside each column name. And the reason why that drop down arrow is there is so that in this case we want to filter by department and by clearance, which is over here. So if I drop this down, this filter, you'll see that it's checked where it's going to select all, but we don't want all, so I'll just click on the check mark beside select all, which turns it off. And then if I put a check mark beside engineering, that that will just give me the people that work in engineering. And then if I go over here to clearance, and I drop down this one, and I say, no, I don't want them all, I just want the ones with top secret clearance, and say OK, this is the list I get. I get just these people in engineering that have top secret clearance. Now where did the rest of the rows go? Like they're not showing, but if you look over here you'll see that the count is a little bit off. It goes from 1 to 2 to 5 to 8 to 15 to 30. And what it's done, it's hidden all of the rows I don't want to see, and it's showing me just the rows that have what I want to see, and that's engineering and top secret. Now if I was to turn these filters off, and I'm not going to do that, but if I was to turn them off, all my data would come back. But I'm going to leave it like that for now, because that is basically the answer to this question, so I'm just going to leave that. Okay, so let's go on to number 4. Number 4 is a worksheet that uses a custom filter to display only those employees born between January 1st, 1960 and January 1st, 1969. Okay, so let's go back into our spreadsheet. We'll go to this 1960-69. Again, there's no data in there. We go back, we copy the data, we go to our 1960-69, we go to A1, and we paste it in. So there we have data now. Okay, so this is a filter, same as before, so we're going to highlight the column names. We're going to go to data filter, and we're going to turn that on. And we're interested in this column over here, this birth date column. We want the people that were born between January 1st, 1960 and January 1st, 1969. So we drop down this arrow, and we see that we have what's called date filters. Now the reason why we have date filters is because Excel recognizes that there's dates in this column, and so it knows that we want to do something with dates. So it's given us all the options that we can work with, and you can see that there's quite a few here. You know, tomorrow, today, yesterday, this week, last quarter, next year. You know, what we want is this one up here, between, because we're going between two dates. So if I click on between, it says is after or equal to, so I'll just put in January 1st, so 1/1/1960 and 1/1/1969. Now over here it says is after or equal to and is before or equal to. So that logically that should make sense. So I'll say OK on that. And what happened to our data? Oh, I got something wrong. Okay, let's go back and look at that. So 1/1/ just making sure I typed it in correctly. Oh, I got a problem here. I put in 2 slashes. So let me get rid of 1 slash there and say OK. And there we go. So pretty easy to make a mistake. I put in 2 slashes. Of course, it didn't know what I meant by that. And of course, it didn't find any records. So this looks better. So when we cruise down here, you'll see that all of these years are between 1960 and 1969. There wouldn't be any 1969s in here unless a person was born on January 1st, 1969. So basically you go to December 31st, 1968. So those are the lists that meet that criteria. And we see over here the same thing is happening, right? 2, 5, 10, 13, 14. The rows that I don't want to see are still there, but they're hidden. And these are the rows that I do want to see. So it all works. Okay, so that's a filter, different type of filter. but it does basically the same thing that we saw in the previous one. Okay, so let's go back to our assignment. Number 5, it says a worksheet that subtotals the salaries by department and the grand total of all department salaries, and this worksheet should be sorted by department name first and uses the subtotal option in Excel. Okay, so there's our salary totals over here, and you see that there's no data. Same thing, we go back, we get the data, we copy it, and we go to the salary totals worksheet, we go to A1, and we paste it in. So we've got a fresh copy of the data to work with, and you see that some of the columns aren't showing here. If your columns aren't wide enough, just go up to the dividing line between the D and the E in this case and drag that line over to the right, and then you see it opens up. You know, it just makes it easier to read. You know, and you can do that basically on any column. Okay, so first thing that we have to do is we have to sort this list by department, because what we want this worksheet to show is all of the people that work in engineering, for example, and at the end of all of the people that work in engineering, we want to see the total salary for that department. And then we want to see all the people in the next department and the total salary for that department. And then at the bottom, we want to see the grand total of salary, the total salary for all of the people in this company. So first thing we're going to do then is a sort. So I'll highlight the whole list again, and then I'll issue the sort command. So I'll go to data, sort, and I'm going to sort by department, and I'm just going to sort it A to Z. So no custom sort or anything going on there. So just A to Z. We'll say OK, and you see there now I have engineering, and then I have human resources, and then I have management, and then I have marketing. So it's sorted correctly. Now the next thing I want to do is highlight the data again, so that everything is highlighted, and go back up to the top, and I'll click on subtotal. What subtotal does, it allows you to do exactly what we want to do. At each change in department, so when department changes from engineering to human resources, I want to stop, and I want to add up all the salaries, and then I want to move on to the next department. So here the function that I want to use is sum, not count, and I wanted to sum the salaries. So I click on salaries, not clearance, so I got to turn that off. For some reason that was turned on. I want to sum the salaries, and that's it. So I just say OK, and it should be done. So if I go down here to the bottom, you see that we got engineering total, and over here we've got a bunch of hashtags. Basically what a hashtag means is that this column is not wide enough to show us the number. There is a number there, but we can't see it. So I just have to go up and widen this column out, and we'll see there's the number. So 2,291,320. That's what all of these numbers here in this column add up to. But you see, I got that from not having to put in a formula. I let the command put in the formula for me. Then it goes on to the next department, which is human resources. So all these people work in human resources, and the total salary for human resources is $535,080. And then the next thing is management, and then the next one is marketing, and then at the bottom we have the grand total, $6,115,060. Done. So without knowing anything about how to enter formulas into Excel or anything like that, we've been able to produce this report and it's sorted by department, and it gives us subtotals and grand total. So getting back to something that we talked about in class on Tuesday, how do you turn data into information? Basically, this is what we've been doing, since we started this assignment. Because back in our original sheet that we have here, that's just data, right? It's not information. It's just in no particular order. It doesn't help us answer any questions. And what we've been doing is, answering questions and turning this data into information. So even this, even doing a last name sort is helpful, right? Because if you're looking for somebody, it's a lot easier to find them if you can, say you're looking for John Champion. You know that their last name starts with C, so it's in alphabetic order. So boom, there it is. Department order, same thing, right? You want to see all the people that work in marketing, engineering, with top secret clearance. Maybe you're looking for an engineer, right, to do a job, and they need top secret clearance to do it. This is the information you need, and it would be very difficult to get that from the employee data worksheet. More easily, you could get this just by looking at what we did here. And of course, 1960 to 69, that's information. And then salary totals, that's great information because it tells you, what your salary totals are by department. And we can see here that engineering is the highest. If someone wanted to know what department has the highest salaries, we can say there it is there, engineering. It's over $2 million. So that's what we mean by turning data into information. Okay, so let's go back and look at number 6. Number 6 is a pivot table that shows average salary by department, by job title, by male and female. Now this might sound like a lot of work, but actually out of all 6 of these, this is probably the easiest one to do once you know how to do it. So in order to do this one, then we go back to Excel and we go to pivot table, and again you'll see there's nothing there. We go back to our employee data worksheet. We got to do the same thing. We got to get the fresh copy of the data. So I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go to pivot table. I'm going to go to A1. I'm going to paste it in. So there's a fresh copy of our data. So I'll highlight the data first, and then I'll issue the command. Okay, so I highlighted all the data, and then I go to insert. And insert is where you'll find the pivot table. And if you drop down this arrow, you'll see that you have a choice between pivot table and pivot chart. But what we want to do is produce a pivot table. So I click on pivot table, and it says select the table range, and it's got it right. It's got A1 to J119, and that's exactly what we have highlighted here. And then the next question set down here, it says, do you want to put this information on this worksheet or a new worksheet? Well, we actually want to put it on a new worksheet, so I'm just going to leave that's selected the way it is, and I'm just going to click on OK. So it creates a new worksheet, and it gives us this here presentation. Now the way pivot tables work is that you take these column names over here and you drag them over here and drop them. Now with Excel 2010, they made it more difficult for us to work with. But what I want to do, and what Mac users will have to do, is you'll have to change this box here to the original way that we used to do pivot tables prior to Excel 2010. Pretty easy to do. We just go up here to Options. We click on Options. We go to Display, and we say Classic Pivot Table Layout, which enables dragging of the fields in the grid. And that's what we want. Don't ask me why they changed it. It was working fine the way it was, and most people like to work in this mode, Classic Pivot Table Layout. So you just say OK, and this is what I mean by drag and drop. It's a lot easier to work in this environment. It's a lot easier to visualize your report, and like I said, I had no idea why they changed it. But the good news is we can reverse the change and still work in this drag and drop world. Okay, so let's build our pivot table. So if we go back to the instructions just for a minute, it's going to show the average salary by department, by job title, by male and female. Okay, so this is the way I visualize it, is that male and female will be up here in the column. So you have one column for male, one column for female. Over here you'll have department, and then there's job titles within those departments. So it'll be like, for example, engineering, and then the job title would be engineer, and it would have the salary for engineer depending on whether you're male or female. So that's the way I visualize it anyway. So let's see how that's going to work. So I drag department over here and drop it. You see I get marketing, human resources, management, engineering. I get job title, or just title, and I drag it over here and drop it. And so now it gives me the department and then the title, right? So I got marketing, and then in marketing there's people that are called CSRs and there's people that are called staff. And in human resources there's managers and staff, and in engineering there's engineers, managers, and staff. Okay, great. So now I want gender up here. So I drag gender up here to the column, and I've got female, male, and grand total. And what is the data that I want to see in here is their salaries, but I want to see the average salary. So I don't want to see the total salary or the minimum salary. I want to see the average salary. So I'm going to drag salary over and drop it in here. And what it's done by default is it's added up all of the salaries, and these are not averages, these are sums of salaries. So very easy to change. I just go over here to where it says sum of salary, and I change that. I go into what's called the value field settings, and I click on average, and I say OK. And there's our salary information, only this time it's the average salary. Now these numbers don't look great because there's a lot of decimals in there, and they don't look like dollars and so on and so forth, but very easy to change that. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to highlight all of the numbers. I'm going to go back to the home ribbon, and right here where it says general, I'm going to change that to currency, and that looks better. So these are all of our salaries, and the average salary for the whole company is $51,822.54. And the average salary for a female CSR working in marketing is $47,730. So you can imagine if you were asked to do this and turn data into information, if someone asked you to go back to that original worksheet and calculate the average salary by gender for each department by job title, it might take you better part of a day to do that, even with 118 records. But here you see we've done it in minutes. And it doesn't matter if there's 118 records or 118,000 records, we could still do this, and it would still work the same way. And so it shows you that Excel is very powerful at summarizing data. And so back to something that we talked about on Tuesday night when we talked about the management pyramid. We talked about data at the bottom of the pyramid being very fine, very detailed, and then as you move up the pyramid, the data becomes more summarized. This is what you would want to see at the top of the pyramid. You'd want to see a summary report that looks like this. This is what you'd want to see. Okay, so one thing you'll notice there is when I click off this grid, the right hand side of the screen goes away. When I click back on the grid, it reappears. This is just to in case you want to do something over here, you want to put some more numbers in over here or whatever. This is still a worksheet. You can still do whatever you want to do here. And you could print this out. It prints out very, very nicely. Or you could copy and paste it into a Word document or into an email and send it to somebody. And right now on our list of tabs here, it's called Sheet 1. And the reason why is because we started with the pivot table and we told it to put it on a new sheet. So it just created a new sheet and called it Sheet 1. If you want to rename that, you just right click on Sheet 1 and say rename, and then you can call it pivot, pivot result or something like that, right? Pivot result, and whatever name you want to give it, so you know what it is, right? So now, like a little bit more descriptive than Sheet 1. Something else that you can do is you can move this bar over so it's not in your way. You could actually take pivot result and move it over so that pivot table comes before pivot result. Maybe you want to do that. That's fine too. And so you can see that we're complete. So we started off with employee data. We did last name sort. We did department order. We did engineering TS. We did 1960 to 69. We did salary totals. We did pivot table, and we produced this pivot result here. So that's it. That's it for project 1, and we did all six requirements that you see here. The next thing that you want to do then is you'd want to save that. So go back to this cover page here. You might want to put your name on it. So just type in your name here so we can see that it's your sheet. And go up and do File, Save As. So if you do a Save As, that gives you a chance to change the name anyway. So in a Save As, you don't have to call it Fall 2013. You can put your say first initial, last name on it, project 1, whatever you want to call it. So if I put B. Murray project 1, call it that, and I'll save it in my folder here, so I'll be able to find it under 240 Business 241, and save it there. So that's, yeah. So now we know, we see up the top of the screen here that it says B. Murray Project 1. We know that it's saved under that name, and we can close this window down. Because the next thing that you would need to do is you would need to upload this to Moodle. So in your Moodle page, because I'm not signed in as a student, but on your Moodle page you'd see a box down here that would allow you to select a file and upload a file, and that's what you need to do now. Is you need to select the file from your computer, the one that we just saved, and then upload it to Moodle, and that way I'll be able to open it up and give you a mark for it. So basically, that's it for project 1. Some of the other things that you can be doing before our next class is make sure you read over chapter 1, chapter 2. I will do a quick summary before we start our class on Tuesday, because this Tuesday coming, the 20th, we'll have another class. I'll answer any questions. I'll also talk more about the case study, and I'll put up some examples here of how to present information in a different way, and that's what we're doing with this case study. And of course, if you're not familiar with Excel, by all means, go over these tutorials now while you have time, and you can be doing that between now and next Tuesday, and you should be fine. And as I mentioned on Tuesday, any of this supplemental material that we see down here will just be stuff that we talk about in class. It'll be interesting websites, things that you can go to for more information, and I'll continue to list these as we go through the class. I've already have some there, but there'll be some other stuff that I'll put there. Looking ahead then to next week. Next week we're doing chapter 9 and 7. It looks like we're jumping ahead, but actually there really is no order. We do want to start looking at databases and information ethics, privacy, and security. So we're going to look at that next week, and we'll have another project next week in that. So we'll talk more about that at our class next week. So we'll leave it at that for now, and I'll